Disaster recovery as a service. This is the newest feature that CloudSigma has rolled out as part of its product pipeline. And this is also our first webinar on that topic. We are doing this webinar in particular for two of our locations in Manila and in Saudi Arabia, because those two locations are the first ones to have this feature available in the cloud. I would like to start with a general overview about why is disaster recovery important at all. And here I've selected a couple of reasons why we should always think that we have to have some sort of a DR plan. So first of all, we all know that machines and hardware fail, no matter if it's on the cloud or if it's on an on-prem infrastructure. You don't have any guarantee that any of your hosts or storage nodes won't fail. So you have to be prepared for such situations. Same thing is with people. People are not perfect. They may make a mistake deleting something without any backup, and so for this reason it's good to have that in mind, to have a backup and DR plan. On the other hand, of us being providers, customers expect perfection. So they expect that their services are available all the time. They expect business continuity. And we all know that customer retention is costly, but if we have to reacquire new customers, this is much more expensive. And last but not least, you are only as strong as your weakest link. This means if you have actually secured all the weak points that you have in your infrastructure or in your business, then you are on the safe side. And having a disaster recovery plan is actually one of it. So I have top 3 reasons why you need a DR plan, especially no matter actually if you are a smaller, medium-sized business or if you're a bigger enterprise. So first of all, you can reduce downtime. If a disaster happens, with a DR plan, you can jump back into regular operations very quickly. Second, it limits the liability. So the disaster recovery saves you from data loss because it has, of course, all the incremental backups saved at the back. And a third thing, which is a more human, is that you know what to do. So in case there is a disaster, normally people get panicked, they don't know what to do. This creates chaos. And if you have a easy to follow DR plan, this enables you as a company to follow easy steps in a stressful situation like a disaster recovery. So yes, of course, this is the market demand. There are a lot of disaster recovery tools available on the market, but many of them bring with themselves a couple of challenges. So tools, for example, support only physical infrastructure. Other tools support only cloud infrastructure. Then some tools support certain types of hypervisors. Others support other types of hypervisors. Some tools include a hypervisor when doing the disaster recovery. Some tools support instant virtualization inside the backup server. Others don't. Some tools support open standards. Others don't. And when looking into the market, it was the same like when we actually started CloudSigma. We saw a gap. And it's the same with DR. We saw that there is a variety of tools flexible enough. So we added this type of tool. I'm going to demo right now. And here is just a slide showing a competitive comparison. So you can see here a number of famous DR tools, and also the CloudSigma DR. So actually there are many of features that are present in some of the other tools, but not present in others. And actually our tool covers most of the requirements that are necessary for successful DR. The most important features is that this is actually a hypervisor neutral and application independent solution. So it works with all hypervisors. You can mirror virtual or physical infrastructure to the cloud, and that works with all Windows and Linux environments. On top of that, it's a very simple, as you're going to see, a very simple and transparent billing behind the tool. There are no hidden costs, and there is nothing that you can't understand why you're being billed for. It's all-in-one utility billing, the same intuition that is behind all the other CloudSigma services. So yeah, this is how it works. You have a initial setup, then you go into an initial replication phase, and then you have ongoing system operations. I'm not going to now go into details on these slides because I'm actually going to demo you how this works on our cloud. So we have here the cloud in Saudi Arabia. And I'm sure if there are people on the webinar from Saudi Arabia or from the Manila Cloud, they've already seen, because this is already the new version of the web app, they've seen here the new schedules, migration DR. Those are the two new menus for these new features. Yeah, so first of all, we come here and we can create a new schedule. So here you see that you have two types, migration and DR. This is because the same tool that we use for DR, we can also use for migration of drives and servers. But I'm going to explain that further on. So now we focus only on DR. So I named that DR schedule webinar DR. Okay. So here you select the schedule or time zone. Here you have many different time zones. I'll take that one, doesn't matter. And of course, you have to have it enabled. Then here, what's the difference between continuous or restricted? I'll put it to continuous, but I'll explain. You have the option to have the DR sync being done only in certain hours. Because especially the first sync, the full sync of the server takes longer time, you may want to have this outside of office hours. So that's why there is this option which you can select. And so this is for the initial backup, and the incremental backup schedule, you have the same option. You can select the incremental backup to happen only out of office hours if you wanted to. So now for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to choose continuous. And here you have the different intervals of the incremental syncs. So our tool has as minimum as 15 minutes incremental syncs, which is very granular. Of course, I wouldn't recommend that because it's a lot of incremental snapshots that it creates in the system. I wouldn't recommend it unless it's really necessary for your business and you know that you have all the time important changes every 15 minutes of your systems. So here I'll pick up 12 hours. Again, as I said, here you have the option continuous restricted, which I'll use continuous for the purposes of this demo. Then I click create, and here you have it, webinar DR. Here you can see a couple of other schedules that I've created for testing purposes. One of them, so this one I'm going to show you later on because it's an ongoing schedule already, and I'll show you how this looks like. Okay, so our next step is to actually download the agent. So I'm on a Windows PC right now, so I'm gonna select Windows for that. But here you see you have a number of you have other operating systems you can select. So I download the agent, and this will take for Windows it takes a little bit longer. but it's more, it's actually easier to install. For Linux, you have to use the terminal. If you want to install it, it's easier with that. Okay, so I have it on my laptop. Come on. Okay, run anyway. So yes, I want to run this. I want to install. You accept the agreement. I install it. So now we need to wait until it actually appears here. And while we wait, this may take like 1-2 minutes. I can tell you a little bit about this agent and how it works. So as you can see, this agent is doing everything in the backend. So you can install it on a Windows computer, as I did. You can install it on Linux. You can install it on any hypervisor working cloud, like Hyper-V or VMware or Amazon or any other environment. And then it does all the job at the backend, doing the initial sync and the incremental syncs to your CloudSigma cloud account where you have the failover. So yeah, we don't really have to monitor anything, and that's all. So let's see if I can assign a schedule here. We have our webinar schedule. Yes, we assign it. Yeah, so here you see, you don't have enough disaster recovery subscription to get a scheduler. Very good. So what we need to do is, in the usual way, buy a subscription. So we come here to usage and billing, usage and purchasing. And here you can see, I'll try to make it a bit smaller so you see everything. You see all my subscriptions and current resources that are on burst. This is, by the way, the burst I have from the previous things of my test. So disaster recovery, adjust by for 1 VM, and I want to have it for 1 month, and I don't want to have it on auto renew, or you may select something else and you purchase it, say yes. Then I come here again, I select the Lenovo PC, assign a schedule, webinar VR. Yes, I want to continue. And now you can see I have this CloudSigma desktop, which is Linux, which is my already being synced disaster recovery of another computer. And I have this new one that I just created. So what I have to do is just come here and press Start DR. So this, depending on the size of the drive and on the operating systems, may take longer or shorter. For the Linux operating system, when I tested it, it took shorter. And now for Windows, it will take a little bit longer. So while we're waiting for this to start, I'm going to go through a couple of more slides to explain a few more things. So these are the key things regarding the failover model and behavior that are key for this tool. So the 15 minutes incremental sync, this is something I showed to you. You have the option from 15 minutes until 24 hours to choose the period of your incremental syncs. Then it takes less than 2 minutes to bring up a failed server, and this is also something I'm going to demo for you. The only thing you have to do is to just log in into the CloudSigma user phase and check the networking settings, set them up as you require, and then the server is just up and running. I'm going to show you this in a minute so that you see how easy it is and how it took me something like 30 seconds actually when I tested it. So it depends on the server size, of course, but it's really a very short period of time. So this means something like 2 minutes of downtime at most. And here I want to tell a little bit about the commercial model. So as you saw, the only thing you need to buy is actually a DR fee. This is calculated per instance. So if you have 1 VM, it's 1 DR fee. If you have 5 VMs you want to fail over, then it's 5. You have to buy 5 pieces of subscriptions. And then the other thing that, of course, you need to pay for is the storage fee per gigabyte, which is calculated quite normally as we calculate storage. You can choose if you want to have it synced on SSD or magnetic. I believe the default is set to magnetic right now. But this is something that you can choose as well. And then once you actually, you then pay if there is no DR, you just pay for the storage. The DR fee is per month. So if you want to have disaster recovery only for 6 months, you have to buy a subscription for the number of VMs you want to fail over for 6 months. Same about the storage. And then if a disaster recovery happens, of course, you have to pay also for the server that you bring live into the cloud. But then if there is no disaster, you don't pay for that. Yeah, so this is an example in our Manila cloud location, how much it actually costs. We have set up the DR fee per instance to be $10. I believe it's the same in Saudi Arabia. And then this is the storage price, which is the standard storage price you have in the cloud. So let's see if, yeah, this is still pending. Yes, maybe while we're waiting, I can check if there are questions. Yes, I can see one question here. What are the options of failback? This is something I can show you, how you can restore a snapshot and promote it to a server. I'm not sure I could do it while I'm waiting for this to sync. Maybe I can. So let's see. Should be actually ready. Yeah, it said working. Okay. So see, it says working, and now here you can see below the job type is full sync. So this is the first job that has started. The status is running, and completion at the beginning is 0%. But while we're doing the webinar, this will increase to a couple of percentage. And now to come back to your question, I want to show you for another system that I did a DR on. So here you can see there is a full sync, which is 100% completed. And two incremental syncs, I had, I believe, the same principle, 12 hours distance between the syncs. And what you can do here, but yeah, this time it is a Linux system. Here you have the snapshots. And what you can do, you can select one snapshot, let's say this one. This one should be the latest one, and you can say virtualize. So here you have the option between test mode and live mode. So the test mode, in this mode, the virtualized instance does not back up, and any modifications to the VM will be discarded after shutting down the VM. So I will pick up live mode, which once the server is virtualized, it will be live on the network, no matter if the VM is shut down or not. And modifications to the VM are also saved. Here you can select the size of your VM. You just click virtualize. It says, congratulations, virtualization is in progress. Your server will appear in compute section after some time. So you come here to compute section, and right now what you see here, this is actually the server that is doing the sync for our second system that we created. So we have to wait a little bit before the server appears. As I said, it's up to 2 minutes until it's up and running. But yes, this is the actual agent that is doing all the sync in the backend for you, for the system I have just demoed to you. And this thing is like you see that there are some parameters for this server, but the server is not, you're not paying for this. If you go here to usage and billing, you see that you have no current running resources. This is something that is happening on our backend. Yes, and here you see CloudSigma desktop. This is Linux boot prepare. It's running. I can open it here. It failed to connect to the server. Let me try again. Yes, so here you see, actually, I believe that the server is not ready yet. Yeah, now it should be ready. Yes, now it should be ready, so now I should be able to actually show you. Yeah, it is connected to my other computer. So yes, it took us less than 2 minutes to actually connect to the server. Okay, I have this question regarding to fail back to on-premise. There is no option to fail back to on-premise. So the tool gives you an option to fail back from on-premise if your primary location is on-premise or any other cloud to CloudSigma. But there is no option to fail back from CloudSigma to on-premise. Is that what you were asking? Okay, great. Okay, so I believe I showed you almost everything. Let's go here to see what's going on with our sync here. See, it says 3% completion. So yes, the full sync takes some time, but it doesn't matter because you don't really have to do anything. And exactly, if you're having a bigger system, you may not want to have this sync running during office hours because it may cause some delays and performance, like not huge performance issues, but yes, your system may slow down a little bit for the fact that it's being synced. So if you have very intense workloads on the system, you may want to have the full sync being done during night hours, for example. Okay. So the systems that I showed to you are with one drive only. I'm sure you noticed that. But you can also DR systems that have multiple drives. There's no problem. And then you will have one line for each drive being synced, and you can promote and virtualize any of the drives you wanted. Okay, so now I would like to finish with some words about how you can use the same tool for migration. Actually, as you saw at the beginning, when you have to create a schedule, there was an option between DR and migration. So the same agent can also be used for doing one of migrations of systems. You just select migration, the same way as you had it for DR. You have to have a name, you have to select schedule a time zone, and again you have the option to have it restricted within a certain time period or to have it continuous. And then what the system does, it does one full migration and 5 increments, and that's it. The pricing for this, and again, because it's the same agent doing this, it's again hypervisor or application independent. And this means that you can migrate off any cloud or on-prem environment. The billing is again very simple. It's $5 per instance. And then once you migrate to the cloud, of course, you have to, if you want to, you have to buy a subscription for the storage, or your storage will run on burst. But yes, it's very simple. It's just a one-off fee, and there is nothing else behind it. That was it. That was the whole demo. Thank you very much for watching this. Please let me know if you have any questions. I don't see anyone typing, but yes, okay, we had 1-2 questions already, so I guess that's fine. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. You and everyone else who signed up for it are going to receive a link with the recording. And yes, if there are any questions, you can always turn to our sales team. We can do extra demo session and explanation call if that's needed. Yes, so feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much once again, and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.